Sony keeps making things worse.
Sony's been having a bit of a weird week when it comes to PR. So there's that whole situation where they put out an interview with Neil Druckmann, and turns out that they twisted his words so much that Neil Druckmann had to put out a statement about it, and eventually
Twisted his words so much in an interview. Man, that is low.
Sony decided to delete the interview because they reviewed it and they found several significant errors and inaccuracies that don't represent his perspective and values, and that was the whole thing. Then there's Herman Hulst, the soon-to-be co-CEO of Sony and PlayStation, coming out with the statement where he said that the strategy is to release Sony and PlayStation published live services on day one for both PS5 and PC, while the single-player narrative-driven games they're intending to release on PS5 first and then on PC, so that PC players will be incentivized to buy PlayStation 5 so they're able to play those experiences early. But
so you're telling me the strategy is release the cash milking cows that are made with absolutely no consideration, just blatant money grabbing machines everywhere at the same time because it's garbage, in the hopes that people will not talk about it and not ruin the sales on other platforms, while all the potentially good stuff is going to be released on PS first. I mean, we still now know what to avoid. The stuff that gets released on PC and PS at the same time is garbage, and no one should buy that. You're just telling us that. That is not a sound business strategy, I'm sorry.
I don't think Sony and PlayStation understand the patience that PC gamers have. They'll wait as long as it takes so they can have what they believe to be the ideal version of those games where they can really tweak the settings.
What is the ideal version of gaming?
Max out the graphics and performance, so on and so forth. So we'll see if that strategy pans out. There's also the whole situation of Sony accidentally leaking Destiny 2's The Final Shape expansion in its entirety. They accidentally published the game on their cloud streaming service, and so there's plenty of spoilers out there now, plenty of footage for something that was not meant to be released at that time. And it was up for like 5 hours before Sony took it down, so that's a pretty significant amount of play.
Dude, it was going so good for Sony. They won the gaming VOD on consoles, and by won gaming VOD, I mean the state of play completely destroyed Xbox, but granted, that is not exactly a high bar, because Xbox had 2 titles that looked kind of good. One of them was Avowed, and the other one I already have forgotten. But PlayStation had 4 or 5 titles that actually looked like they have promise and not complete trash. While Xbox, the rest of the games there, most of them look like complete woke trash. But for PlayStation, they just looked trash and bad and sad and probably completely boring. Okay? I'm not saying it's a huge bar to actually overcome, because the console bar is literally the greatest race to the bottom that we have ever seen, because they don't have a single fucking good game to even ever talk about. But at least Sony won that with PlayStation. At least they won that, okay? Listen, it wasn't a big bar, but at least they won that. They absolutely, in fact, statistically destroyed Xbox, because they have 2 times the games that, could be not trashed in Xbox, which is 4 instead of 2, which is not a lot, but I mean, it's the modern day economy.
Playtime that people got way earlier, and that definitely did some damage for Bungie. And then there's their recent state of play. The games list for that was leaked prior to its streaming, so there wasn't a whole lot in terms of surprises, but
not a big deal. All of these lists get leaked.
It was still cool to see some of
Xbox's the list also leaked. No one cares.
The stuff that they showcased or announced. Monster Hunter Wilds looks great. Astrobot, the fact that they announced a new title for that's got me kind of hyped, not gonna lie. Now, among the stuff that they announced also includes a PC release of God of War Ragnarok, which is great, except for people who live in countries outside of the ones that PlayStation Network supports, and that's kind of the main topic of today.
Me, I live in one of those countries.
Today's video, we've talked about this situation in the past with other games. The fact that they're doing this with God of War Ragnarok makes absolutely no sense. Going to God of War Ragnarok's Steam listing, you'll find this notice that reads PlayStation Network account required, subject.
Oh, wait a minute. Was this the God of was it not a new God of War game that was announced in the summer? Because I didn't watch obviously the actual state of play because I'm not an idiot, but I watched the summary. So you're telling me this is not even a new God of War game? This is just oh, God of Ragnarok now is on P. Oh my god. Okay. PlayStation has a whopping 3 games that aren't trash. Still one more than Xbox. We're still winning with a 50% lead, boys. What a time to be alive. Again, this is the stupidest rat race to the bottom ever. Consoles, just in general, are trash.
To the PlayStation terms of service and user agreement. So we've talked about why this is actually hugely detrimental. It is a bigger deal than just making an account, especially for people outside of the 69 countries around the world that PSN is available in. Nice. So what the requirement of a PlayStation Network account does is effectively make the game inaccessible to the remaining countries, of which there are a significant amount of, and it's just utter nonsense, especially for God of War. I mean, it was already kind of nonsense when they did it for Helldivers 2, when that game enjoyed many months of not having the PSN requirement and people around the world being able to access the game, even those outside of the PSN supported ones. The fact that they're doing this for a purely single player experience with no online component whatsoever makes this all the more nonsensical. So
Young, the reason why you say it's nonsensical is because you're a low IQ simpleton who literally thinks communism is the greatest form of, I don't even know what he actually considers communism to be. The great everything, I guess. Communism is the greatest everything by his opinions, and China rules because, you know, living in China, living in one of those hundreds of small Chinese villages where 100% of the population have cancer because even the water is goddamn toxic in China. I mean, right on you, Young, you absolute simpleton idiot. The reason that they want you to make a PSN account is because that just increases the chance that they sell you something. It's the same reason why every single studio, Ubisoft, Blizzard, and Bethesda wanted their own launchers. It's because, well, that makes you like a mini Steam marketplace, and you can constantly for free advertise your own stuff. And well, advertisement works in a very simple way. The longer you advertise something and it's constantly right in front of you, the more people over time buy it.
So that leads to situations like this one right here, where somebody is trying to pre-order God of War Ragnarok on PC, trying to check this game out on PC in their country, except, oops, sorry, an error was encountered while processing your request. This item is currently unavailable in your region because Sony has decided to delist PlayStation games in countries where PSN is not supported. With Helldivers 2, they realized, oh crap, we gotta delist PSN account requiring games from the countries where PSN isn't supported, because allowing people to purchase those games means we're essentially selling them a digital product that will not work for them as a result of the PSN mandate that cannot be circumvented in those countries unless you want to risk being banned from the PlayStation Network. And so, yeah, as you can imagine, people who have to deal with this situation are pretty upset. And all this is going to do is encourage piracy. This person...
Good. It's about time we encourage that a little bit more. I have been saying that for a long time. Piracy is not bad. Doesn't hurt anyone. You know, the studio that made their game, they didn't make it. They don't own the game, as we all know. You buy it, you don't own it. Well, you sell it, but you don't own it. So piracy is not theft. It's very simple.
Was willing to buy the game, give you money, Sony and PlayStation, but now, if they want to play the game on PC, they have to resort to other means, so they will likely potentially go out of their way to pirate the game if they can, and that's, you know, lost sales right there. And this is definitely not the way you'll end piracy or fight piracy. If you create a better service than piracy, make it more convenient for people, and make it worthwhile to spend that money, they'll give you money, as this individual wanted to do, except you made that not possible, Sony and PlayStation. Plenty of others are questioning specifically why God of War Ragnarok is requiring a PSN ID. As this individual put it, "This is very odd. I understood Helldivers 2 or Ghost of Tsushima because of the online side of things, but why God of War Ragnarok? This game doesn't have an online component." Yeah.
Even the fact that you just register and put in your email and now you get their news update letter or whatever is valuable to them.
It's utterly confusing and baffling. You can see right here how with Helldivers 2, for example, the game became no longer purchasable in 177 countries where PSN is not available. Same thing happened with Ghost of Tsushima, which is frustrating because there are a lot of people who just want to play Ghost of Tsushima for its single-player component. It should be an optional thing to make a PSN account only for those who want to engage with the online multiplayer component of the game. So Sony and PlayStation started by restricting access to their game for...
Now, I agree. It should be optional, to be honest, to be able to do that. But at the same time, what gives you the right to think that you can determine what PlayStation does with their own shit? On one hand, just to throw the ball the other way, what makes you think that you have the right to demand that a company that you do not own, you do not work at, you are not even affiliated with, that you have the magic capability to tell them what they need to do? Because let's be real, if they told you what you need to do in your daily lives, you would probably be pretty pissed.
Live services in countries where PSN is not supported, then it's single-player games with online multiplayer components in them, and now we have a full-fledged single-player experience with no online whatsoever getting the same treatment. And I expect that SteamDB will soon publish a similar tweet where they talk about all the countries where God of War Ragnarok will be restricted in. All this comes in after Sony Interactive Entertainment put out an apology saying that they got it wrong with
Sony apologizing, that's always funny.
Mandating Helldivers 2 to link to a PSN account, and that they're still learning what is best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Really, has it? Because the feedback has been very clear and you persist on not listening to any of it. This just feels like a smokescreen. This feels like you were just placating people just for this particular moment because the backlash got so bad. But now that the coast is clear, you're deciding to push forward with this anti-consumer move. Now that all eyes aren't on you on this whole situation, now you can finally sneak this by people. They're saying that the reason they're mandating people make a PSN account and link to a PSN account is because account linking plays a critical role in protecting our players and upholding the values of safety and security provided on PlayStation and PlayStation Studios games.
Also, this was going to be a thing. PlayStation was going to ban you for wrong speak, which is absolutely amazing. I love it, 10 out of 10. Because you say words that they don't like, which is amazing. Again, it's really amazing. So, good thing this never happened. But again, PlayStation will try.
This is our main way to protect players from griefing and abuse by enabling the banning of players that engage in that type of behavior. But players are not interacting with each other in God of War Ragnarok in any way, shape, or form because, again, there's zero online multiplayer component whatsoever. There's nothing to protect players from in this isolated single-player environment. This is why when I made my final video on the Helldivers 2 situation where Sony and PlayStation finally pulled back on mandating a PSN ID and linking to a PSN account, I said that people should keep in mind that Helldivers 2 is still no longer purchasable in 177 countries, and I think they added a few more after this. I warned that this is something we still have to wait for. Sony and PlayStation still haven't reversed that. I warned that their FAQ still states in this question of do I have to sign in to PSN to play a PlayStation game on PC. They recently changed it to some PlayStation games and features may...
Oh yeah, we remember this, the rewriting of history. Well, it's gonna be interesting. Oh man. Well, again, State of Play still destroyed Xbox. eat it, losers. Not that I care about any one of you who wins or loses. I think both of you existing is a loss for society in general. But that's fine, okay? Anyway.
Updated on all things gaming news,
Gaming
reviews, and
news,
discussions.
reviews, discussions.
Stay tuned right here
Stay
on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time.
Woo!
Young
out.
out.
Perfection at its finest, what can I say?